Chapter 1. Goodbye to the Golden Age. Could there be a sight more splendid or emblematic of the glory days of the history of Britain's railways? There's a frisson of excitement this morning among the knots of people at the northern end of the platforms at Crewe as Princess Class number 46201 Princess Elizabeth eases her Glasgow-bound train to a stand. The early morning autumn sun glints off her brasswork and the burnished crimson of the paintwork, as if in celebration. As she sends a plume of steam high into the sky, the tilting modern Pendolino train across the platform, by comparison, looks a diminished creature indeed. And indeed there is something very special to celebrate on this mid-November Saturday in 2011. 75 years ago, to the month, Lizzie, named after the young Princess Elizabeth, now of course the Queen, and at 104 tons, one of the biggest and most powerful express locomotives ever built in Britain, set a record which has never been surpassed. This was the fastest run ever achieved over such a long distance by a steam locomotive, on a special train from Euston to Glasgow. Driver Gordon Hodgson and fireman Steve Underhill look superbly at ease as they make the final adjustments in the immaculately prepared cab. And so they should, since they are among the remaining handful of men in Britain skilled enough to drive such a machine. Steve's cheeriness bodes well for the journey, since he is also chief engineer of the Princess Elizabeth Locomotive Trust, the preservation society that owns the loco. The journey is one of the most challenging on the British railway network, let alone for an engine built in 1933, but Gordon and Steve, already slightly oily in their blue overalls, are absolutely up for it. The cameras click, and the spectators on the platform agree she's a fine sight as she steams past the disused 1930s-style Crewe North signal box on the first leg to Carlisle. It's as if the privations of wartime and 1950s austerity, the drab era of nationalisation, and the unromantic years of privatisation had never happened. Although the old lady was not in the end able to achieve the sort of sprint she managed when she lifted up her skirts in her youth, she managed 35 mph over the legendary 1 in 75 Shap gradient, and passengers arrived in Glasgow thrilled to have been able, albeit briefly, to relive the most glamorous era in the history of Britain's railways, which ended abruptly with the declaration of war in 1939. World War II snuffed out for good what has sometimes been described as the golden railway age of the nation that invented the train. The so-called Golden Age began, it is fair to say, one spring morning in 1928. This was the year that Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin, Mickey Mouse made his debut in the movies, Shirley Temple was born, and Al Jolson was high in the charts with Sonny Boy. The crowd packed into King's Cross Station could hardly contain their excitement as the lithe Pacific locomotive, its apple-green paintwork polished to a T and brass gleaming in the springtime light, edged back down onto the train. The date was the 1st of May, and as the big station clock above the platform ticked towards 10 a.m., driver Pebworth eased the regulator and fireman Goddard readied his shovel as the Flying Scotsman set off for its first non-stop journey over the 393 miles to Edinburgh.